And here, quite simply, is the only reason we stay warm in Minnesota during the winter. Heat lamps for the head.
Now here we have two real pioneers embarking upon a new career, capitalizing on this global warming hype. Yeah, they're the ones that brought you the left-handed hammer and tried to market a recycled pamper. You could say the Gullible brothers have always been the entrepreneurial type.
So we're watching the cold air spill south. This is Saturday night. You can see the bulk of that cold air sitting right there at the U.S.-Canadian border. Into Sunday and Monday, it just continues to push off to the south.
Last month, right here in this place, I announced that the first 6 months of the year, January through June, each set new records for high global temperatures.
It's not just Indiana, it's a lot of folks across the central U.S. So let's first talk about how cold it's going to be. Let's kind of frame everything together, how long-lasting this cold air is going to be, kind of the estimated temperatures and the estimated wind chills, and then we'll get into what we think the threat levels are right now.
But certainly the climate is changing, and that's important. It's always been changing. There's never been a time when the climate stayed put for any length of time, so I would say
A satellite from the east coast of Antarctica. Hello, boys. Are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm very gullible. This is my younger brother, just as gullible. Thanks for having us on the show.
18 years since we began keeping modern, reliable records. Last January was the warmest January. Last February was the warmest February.
Even with that, we're still below normal, and once we get through the weekend and some of the temperatures that we will be feeling and dealing with through the weekend, we're going to remain below average here as we kind of work through the next 7 days in January.
Last March was the warmest March in history. Last April was the hottest April.
Here's our departure from average. You can see today we're in the red. We're good. All right, in the red in January usually feels pretty good. Once we get to this dark blue in January, that's not great. All right, our average high is 23 degrees. And if you factor that in with these numbers here, that puts us below zero. And that's where we will find ourselves as we go into our Sunday. More so Saturday night, we'll start feeling that cold air coming in.
Last May was the hottest May, and last June was the hottest June.
Now, the source of the cold air that we're about to get is actually parts of the North Pole and parts of northern Siberia. There's Russia over there. This is where the cold air is going. In fact, we can kind of track these parcels. We do the same thing with volcanic ash, where we get a volcano, you get the ash into the air, and then we can try to simulate where that ash will go next. You can kind of do that as well, kind of reverse engineer it, and just do it with cold air parcels. They would kind of work similarly.
That came right on the heels of 1997, which was the warmest year on record.
Now, we put the next weather alerts in place, the weather team in the station here, but we may also have some cold weather alerts from the National Weather Service. The cold weather advisory, which we had earlier this week, that represents about 25 to 30 below, factoring in the wind chill there. Cold weather warning, that's 35 to 40, all right? I'm not certain we'll get there, but I am expecting at least a cold weather advisory as we go into the weekend.
So I would say all the evidence we have is that we're having some effect on the climate. It's not clear whether it's good or bad. It's not clear whether it's going to become a catastrophe or not.
Let's talk about the cold weather alerts. This map is probably going to fill in. I wouldn't be surprised if you had cold weather advisories and extreme cold warnings all the way south to the Gulf Coast. So it's all represented right here. This cold Arctic air is going to be in place for at least the next 4 days. 2 of those days, not great. 2 of those days will be dangerously cold. The source of the cold starts pulling away, but usually it takes at least another day or so before you can get the cold air at the ground up and out of here.
I think is absurd. What I disagree with very strongly is the idea that climate is predictable, that we can do things 100 years in advance knowing what's going to happen. That's just not the way it is.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Justice, how about you?
I can't feel my feet.
We should build dikes around New Orleans. And I mean, there are simple, practical things we can do.
Take care, Fisherman in a Box.
Yeah.
You ever been to Minneapolis?
Nope.